For anyone who's made a Gerson green juice, this is like the most satisfying part of the entire process. And I wanted to share it. And of course, then you'll see the pressed results, the pulp that's left of the juicing process from the Norwalk juicer.
End of day 2019, day 19. I'm off a little bit. I started May 1st. It's the 20th now because it's Sunday. So I told you that I'd talk about the visit with the doctor. So I went to flashback. This literally, I bought the book that Dr. Max Gerson wrote. So the case of 50 cancer patients. I'll try and flash a picture of it up on the screen. I bought it in April, and then I read the book, and I said, May 1st, I'm starting this, because I already had Watson, the little tumor that we found it just at the end of 2017. So it was like Christmas time 2017. And this is a recurrent tumor. So I had one 10 years earlier, and I just had surgery and did everything they said to do. And then when it came back, I thought I need to just change my approach. And by the grace of God, found a book. Well, she found this topic from Dr. Axe that talked about his mother, Dr. Axe's mother, Dr. Josh Axe, if you want to look it up. His mother having breast cancer. I think it was breast cancer twice. And the first time she did all the standard chemo, radiation, and surgery. And then the second time she did basically a modified Gerson, because she had her son as a doctor, a naturopathic doctor, and a chiropractor too, to help guide her through the process. Now, I didn't have any of that. What I had was the gift of finding Josh Axe and then buying the book and reading it and believing these 50 people who should have died didn't die, and that changed their lives. And I thought, if it worked for them, it could work for me. And I really believed that God was in it and gave me the slightest bit of understanding of why this could work for me. So I think it could work for a lot of people, probably most people. I don't think it's limited, but I do think that different approaches are needed for different people, and that's why you need a practitioner. You need someone who's been there and done that. Even if it's someone who's been through the therapy before, they know more than you do. And so that's where, when I come into this and I watch, and I'm like, oh, blah, 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 we're in 20 days in. That was really a hard time, like crazy hard, massive, massive hard. I'm going to make me bigger for a moment. Can I do that? No, I'm locked in. Okay. Well, we'll just live with it. So I would have totally done, here, we could do this. That's just funny. So I would have totally done the approach differently had I known more. But what I did at this time was I spent those first 20 days, I would make juice at night, and I would stay up until 3 a.m, preparing, like washing, preparing, getting everything ready for the next day, getting it all set in order. So when I woke up, I could prepare it and then go to work. And a lot of people don't have that energy level, for one, and a lot of people would have enough sense to think, oh, I should just get more sleep. So I did this for 9 months. So I'm laughing because at the 20 days in, I didn't know what I was up for. But for 9 months, I did this terrible process of not sleeping but getting all the juice. And in retrospect, it didn't help because, well, it didn't make things worse. And I did have improvements from all of the nutrition. However, without the ability for your body to rest and repair, so when at night your organ systems literally by hours go through and like slow down and repair. So your liver slows down and repairs probably between the hours of like 1 and 3 in the morning. And I didn't know any of that. And I didn't have a naturopath, I didn't have anybody telling me, hey, if you don't rest, you won't recover. And so the first 9 months were really hard. It was my fault. And I'm kind of wanting to do this to give you a warning. You can do it better. Went to a Let's doctor continue.
who runs a clinic called Rhyme of Health. He's a naturopath.
I
His
love
name's
it.
Paul.
This guy
It was
great.
really great. Paul actually teaches at a college too. So
Okay.
he teaches other people to be naturopaths.
Yeah,
And
that
with
wasn't quite right. So what he does, I'm gonna bump that just a little bit. Yeah, he did give me a plan. He is a naturopathic doctor who teaches at a chiropractic college, and later on, as this therapy kind of embedded in my being, right, and I'm recognizing, hey, if you just food really is medicine. So if you really take in food as medicine, it changes your biochemistry, and you will heal. Most people will heal. You might have other things that are problematic, but this is like the foundation. And Dr. Ratte did an incredible job of teaching me that. And then when I found out kind of what he was involved in, and I met other chiropractors who were doing similar things that Dr. Ratte did, I thought, hey, I want to go to school to be a chiropractor. Like, I want more people to know that this option exists, because I didn't, and maybe you don't either. Maybe it's a complete surprise to you that this is even a thing. And that can be a bit frustrating, and it also can be a bit off-putting to think that there's a medical establishment that could be aware that there are other options out there. I'm kind of saying that like wink, wink. They're very aware there are other things out there, but almost, well, a large majority of them will look at the other options, the alternative options that don't involve drugs, chemo, surgery, radiation, and say, well, that's just, quackery. And if you've never seen someone heal through touch, through a chiropractic adjustment, through like literally like walking in, this is literally today, my sacrum, so my pelvis is not moving. I woke up that way, and I feel it very, very painful. And I went to a chiropractor, and they evaluated me. This is all today. They evaluated me, and they said, you know what, your pelvis is locked up. And it's very similar to kind of like if you've ever seen a dog become scared and their tail goes between their legs. It drops their pelvis, it rotates their pelvis down, it locks their hips out, and they don't walk normal. And as long as they're in that fearful mode, this continues. So I woke up this way. I didn't do anything to create this problem. And as a result, my body changed. So if the body can change so quickly in a negative way, the beautiful thing is the body can adjust that quickly in a positive way. It just needs some help, right? Sometimes you just need that extra touching hand. So chiropractic is the idea is that you heal by the hands, and there's a lot of really good research out there that shows that the human touch activates a healing process in the body it's very difficult to get any other way. So I'll let you dig into that yourself. We'll continue.
He gave me a plan. So we're doing some blood tests,
Yeah.
and in those blood tests, the labs that we're looking at are the vitamin D, a 2-hour glucose, plus.
So this is huge. Dr. Ratte he's a naturopath, and he is very much more of the idea that keto will cure most things, which is probably true. Keto probably will cure most things. And his concern for me was like, hey, if you want to continue to go down this path, I'm going to do this because I look like I'm too tired to pay attention. So the idea would be that if my body can handle the glucose, then go ahead, full forge ahead with Gerson therapy, because that's what I found, and that's what I was anchored in. His push would have been, I'm going to have you do keto, which is fine. And those two areas did come and connect together later on in the therapy, but it was a year down the line. So the glucose test was key. Honestly, I think everybody should do that, because if you have a problem with glucose and your insulin can't respond properly, you may want to consider some diet change prior to Gerson. Now, I'm not a doctor and I'm not going to claim to be, and I would tell you contact the Gerson clinic and just ask them, because they also have people that come in and type 2 diabetic, and they routinely see those people with type 2 diabetes completely resolve within a week or so. And you should contact them and ask, do your research, because it's very interesting. Like, if you ever decide that you want to change your diet, change your life, this is an incredibly powerful healing tool, and I think it's worth knowing about. So I don't want to keep that away from anybody. Let's continue.
The insulin test. So we want to see how the insulin responds when my glucose is adjusting, and look at the thyroid.
Right. So the thyroid test. That's Gerson requires you to do these thyroid tests, and encourages you to do a desiccated thyroid, which supports the thyroid. By supporting the thyroid, if there's any imbalances at all, by supporting it, the thyroid end function is that it can increase mitochondrial density in the cell. And Gerson's entire plan and program was to increase energy output of the cell. So take away all the toxins that decrease energy, put all the nutrients in that increase energy. And one of the ways he amplified that was by a little thyroid support. So this is not a synthetic, what do they call, like synthyroid. That's you should do your research on it. I'm not a doctor. I just don't think that, like, putting literally oil, it's processed from oil, is a good, safe option. Now, if you're doing that, I'm not telling you to stop. I'm just telling you to do some research on it and look at a desiccated thyroid, most popular, called Armour thyroid. And in using that, you can increase temporarily your mitochondrial density. So there's other ways to do that same process, but this like allows you to rest and digest and recover, and then as your system gets stronger, you can shift gears into a better therapy. So let's continue.
Panel, and then lipids, and an CRP, which I don't.
So CRP is C-reactive protein, and it's to see what kind of histamine response you have in your system. I definitely had a lot going on at that time. I wasn't careful in my diet at the time about gluten or dairy, both of which cause an increase in CRP. And so you eliminate that when you start with Gerson, or other therapies like the Dr. Kelly protocol, which is kind of more of a modified Gerson therapy. All of those very powerful, but just for the time being, the doctor wanted to see, is your system reacting? Now, flash forward, there's a lot of tools that are available to deal with a really reactive system, but that's for another time. Let's continue.
I don't know what that HSCRP is. I need to look into that. And so I'm going to do that. Hopefully Monday, I'll get that blood drawn, and then 2 to 4 weeks.
So the follow-up there is that I did do the blood tests, and I was totally fine to do the juices. My insulin didn't over-respond. There wasn't I didn't have any insulin sensitivity. I processed sugar quite well. So that was safe,
so
and I didn't do that for a year.
And so I'm taking supplements. I'm going through an additional plan to make sure I'm getting enough nutrients. So, and then with this Gerson therapy, the way that it works is in I think 6 to 8 weeks of the total time. Then I would add in, or a normal person would be able to add in dairy in the form of.
So I said dairy, a normal person, because at this point in time, I am lactose intolerant, and dairy produces an incredible amount of methane in my system, like gas in my system. So blocks up my digestion. It's just a big problem. And I was very nervous about even attempting this, but that's what Gerson said to do. And at the time, I didn't know that a viable substitute, this is for me, I'm not saying for every Gerson person, because they're going to tell you that you don't eat eggs for 2 years. For me, I had a inability to digest protein properly, and I needed a supplemental protein beyond the juice, because as a result, I lost about 55 pounds, and that put me into a very skinny, a very kind of a higher risk. I constantly had like blackout, lightheadedness. If I stood up too fast, I'd black out. And over time, I found out I was so depleted of electrolytes that I just couldn't handle it. So I needed to add in some electrolytes to balance that. And you may find that too, right? This is why you work with someone who's been there before, because I just kind of plugged along and did it myself. Let's continue.
Fat-free yogurt, a low-fat yogurt. So it's supposed to be, good grass-fed,
clean,
organic beef.
Yeah, no problem there.
Produced yogurt.
And if you're healthy, this is probably okay.
The problem I would have with that is
the issue is that most, unless it's like a farmer that most yogurt, it comes from cows that are in factory farms, and they use chemicals like glyphosates, pesticides, and herbicides, possibly not on the animal themselves, but certainly on their feed, because that's not regulated. They don't, like, organic cows in a factory don't get fed organic food. So, realize that's going on. And so there's an issue there. Probably a safe route around that is goat milk. So goats are incredibly active. They're incredibly healthy. They produce, a healthy goat on a good day produces about 10 grams of vitamin C. On a day where the goat is sick, like a 100-pound goat, where they're sick, they'll produce upward of 100, that's 100,000 milligrams of vitamin C, which helps them recover through the sickness. So this is it's super interesting, because probably the goat has a similar stomach and digestion as you and I, where a cow is very different. And goat milk is also mentioned in the Bible, right? You'll have enough goat's milk for your household and for thy maidens, is what it says. And so there's a little snippet of encouragement in the goat milk use. You do your research. I just am giving you facts that I've found, and I'm open to somebody saying, hey, you're pretty close, but this is, better information. Well, send it to me. Leave a comment, send it to me.
I don't do so well with the lactose in the yogurt, but I did find from the right brand, like all the other items are met, and they make a lactose-free version of it. So I'm excited about that, because I can get a couple of those proteins that I missed.
Yeah, so I tried that, and I got so sick. I was wretched sick for a day and a half. I never did it again for years. Now, flash forward, I've done an allergy elimination, and by that, I don't respond negatively to dairy anymore. I can eat it. So I was lactose intolerant. I am not now. I am not now. And that's a topic for a whole nother day. But if it interests you, you should definitely comment. Maybe I need to do a little video on that.
From all the plant-based stuff, and that should fuel the fire. Mm-hmm. So the other thing is I've never had any kind of, that I know of, reaction. Yeah,
so okay, it pauses there. So I didn't ever have a reaction with eggs, and I didn't ever test negatively. So I did a blood test for eggs. I also did an applied kinesiology test for eggs. In all cases, eggs were okay. The benefit is that you gain these proteins, these simple proteins that, unless you're doing very specific things with your plant-based diet, you're not completely deficient, but you could be lacking. And I think I love the Gerson Clinic, and I love the whole method behind it. Possibly, in cases like mine where I was so chemically laden, I couldn't digest protein. Like I couldn't, the enzymatic processes that make basic amino acids in my body were so broken that even when I gave myself tryptophan, right? It's just strictly, here's a processed amino acid. Even then, it took 18 months of supplements before I had any tryptophan reserves in my body at all. And that's completely abnormal. It's like off the charts, not normal. So if you know something about that, leave me a comment. If not, that's the path that I went down, and I ended up eating some eggs, but then I also started supplementing with an amino acid that had a strong basis. So literally like 30 grams of amino acids throughout the day. And I did that for years before I had reserves. And I started seeing things happen. Like a key indicator is that your fingernails, they grow normally. And for years, mine were years and years and years. I had splits in my skin. So I had problems with collagen, which is also amino acid based. And then I also had these cracks and like splinterings on my fingernails, which are all indicators that you're deficient in something. So boom, okay, we're done with this review. I hope it helps. And if you like this, give me a thumbs up. If you enjoyed like the way that this went, give some feedback, leave a comment, and if I hit a topic that you're interested in, let me know and I'll try and do a video on that, because I probably read about it. We're 4 years along and I've thousands and thousands of hours of researching this stuff to come up with ways to help other people like you. Hey, God bless you. Have a great day.